What's up, everybody? I got the background going. How's everyone going? How's it going? People are at the beach. Look, I just came from the beach. How's everyone's morning going? Afternoon? What's going on? We got a lot to talk about today. 320's got a test coming up. 201's got the Canvas content due tonight, and they got assignments due. And we got a lot of chapters. The new asynchronous modules are going to be released. Maddie, good to see you. Let's throw out some points. How many points should we give out? People, I need to know in the chat, how many points are we going to give out? How many points? I moved the camera around this weekend. You know me. I move the camera around every weekend. But hopefully we don't get as much sparkle down here from, it's the window behind me right there. So I have less room to reach over here, but I have more room over here. So I'm inside this box. Which office hours go over the Canvas content quiz? Where do we have the hints for the Canvas content quiz? So give some hints. We can do chapter 10 coming up here. You bet, Bailey. 100 points for Monday. You bet. Let's do that. Where do we have, you got it, Grace knows, those Kahoots right there are the best way to do the Canvas content quizzes. So check out the Canvas content quiz from last Friday. It should be one of the most recent videos on this channel. Did I put it into the list of Canvas content quizzes? Let me go make sure it's in the, I'm gonna go fix that really quick right here. But how is everyone doing? Say hey to some people in the chat. I'll be back here in 10 seconds as I go fix this video, make sure it's in the right playlist. I don't think it is in the playlist. Let's see here. Kahoots is now in the Kahoot playlist. Okay, let me go to playlist now. There's so many buttons on YouTube. Canvas content quizzes. Okay, test, there we go. It looks like move to bottom and then move to top. Okay, so the Canvas content quiz playlist is accurate now on YouTube. Here's Canvas or Kahoot playlist, which has the help. Everyone's saying, hey, let's throw out another 20 points right there. I appreciate everyone saying hey to each other. Just getting everyone, just it's nice. Like, you know, I feel like it's interesting. Like this sometimes feels more like a classroom to me than a classroom feels like, because you can actually talk to each other. You can actually like say, hey, what's going on, so-and-so, or oh, that's so cool. Like during class, if someone's halfway across the classroom, you can't talk to them. Or I don't know, who's ever done that thing besides me, where someone's sitting next to you in class and you write something on a sheet of paper and you like point to it and you're like, no. Like maybe you're like, what did the teacher say? Because you're totally on top of it. You're not talking about like, hey, what's going on, or what we doing, or like, hey, did you see this or something? You're like, so what did they say? And can you please explain this? And you just write on a sheet of paper and you kind of like point at you. But nowadays we got this right here. We got this on the internet. I'm the only person who's ever done that. Only person. Brian Stevens. I invented that. That was me. Back in 2003 in college, I was like, I'm going to invent this thing where I write on a sheet of paper and I point at it. Okay, let's get serious here. Let's get serious. I get like, Brian, come on, man. Okay. Let's over here to the main screen. We're going to go to the main screen. We're going to talk about some 320 to start. Then we're going to hop over to 201, and we'll probably do some assignment 10. That looks to be the topic of the day. Here we are. I'm going to move my camera over a little bit. Let me go to my camera. I noticed this right before I started streaming. I was like, oh, I'll get this fixed when I stream. There we go. Do I have more room on the camera over here? I do. Oh, but maybe I shouldn't. I don't know. It's going to make the sparkle stuff. Yeah, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. Okay, let's do this. Let's do this. I like to be right here where my shoulder touches the back of the screen. Okay, so 320, major stuff. So I'm probably going to sound a reminder tonight. Let's go BAS 320. We have a ton of stuff, and let's just kind of go get the announcement, because that's going to be the best way. 320 will be done in about 2-3 minutes, but we're going to talk through the major things that you have. And if you're here from 320, just put in the chat, what is the thing that everyone should know we have for 320? For 320, there's especially one thing coming up right here that is very major that you should know about. So, and it's such a bummer it didn't copy my, here's the huge announcement. 320 should know midterm on Friday. Great job, Macy. Exam this week, exactly. So the test your browsers, I'm probably going to reopen it, but I might give people points who did it first. It's just to make sure your browser works. Like if you did the test your browser, it literally takes, I don't know, 20-30 seconds, but I want to give points to the people who did it first. So make sure to do it. Quiz due Thursday. Exactly. That's look at all the dates right here. And it didn't copy paste, and sorry for any grammatical errors. It's my fault. It's late. When you send something at like 2 in the morning, you're like, I don't see the errors. And then you wake up, you're like, oh, there's a bunch of errors. So you can see the dates right here. If you look on Canvas, they're all in green. You got the take-home test next Sunday that's posted. So the take-home test is posted under the midterm section. But if you go view this on Canvas, it's pretty easy to see. If we get 100 likes during the live stream, I don't know. I chickened out on the mullet. I chickened out. I was like, I don't know, Clay. Maybe. You never know. You never know. It's stat to a one, right? You never know. We're trying to get Elon Musk right now. That is the goal this semester, to get Elon Musk. I'm trying to make a standalone video to invite Elon Musk to the stream. But if he comes, it'll be awesome. That's our goal. We were on TikTok. So I didn't do the mullet. We had the Joker visit, but I didn't do the mullet because I really wanted to grow my hair out for Halloween. I was like, if I cut it, I can't do the Joker. So I don't know. You never know what's going to happen every semester. You never know. So with this, I'll probably do it for post it on Reddit. Yeah, what we need to do is I'll make the video, Maddie. And then if we can post it on Reddit and if we get a bunch of people to go like it, I mean, we got over 1,000 students. Like if people tell me like, go post it on this Reddit for Elon Musk or whatever. Seems right. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Okay. So we got to make a plan. Got to like post it on Reddit and we got to be nice about it. We can't be like, you have to do it. You have to do it. You just got to be like, if it happens, it happens. You know, like sometimes you put something interesting out there in the world and be like, if Elon Musk wants to appear on this stream, he'd be like, Brian, you can't pronounce my name right. So you can't appear. So 320 will hop back on topic here. If those things happen, that'd be awesome. I mean, you got to have fun, but you can't be too serious. Okay. So test your browsers was due last night. Let's remove that. The review quiz. Has anyone started the review quiz? Let's just talk about the review quiz here for a moment, and let's just like put some details on it. Tool won't be working on stuff here in a second, but for 320 with this review quiz, difficulty level. Has anyone? I finished it. Yeah. How hard was it, Matt? Macy, you're gonna tell us how hard. I'm not gonna say anything. Macy's gonna tell us 1 to 10 how difficult it was. And how difficult was it? 1 to 10. 10 being impossible, which I don't know how you finished it then. 1 being, hey, what's up, Maggie? Good to see you here. 1 being the easiest thing ever. Like, it was like, flip this coin, and you're like, flip. And I was like, congratulations. It wasn't hard. It took me 2 attempts. Yeah. And so I put that at like a 3, maybe, like a 3 out of 10. Like, it wasn't that hard. Like 2 attempts and you were done. And so maybe time, maybe 40 minutes. It really depends. I mean, I could see how someone could be spending a long time on it, but the attempts, unlimited. So please do this. Please do this. This is it was like 2 3 minutes, or wait, 2 through 3 minutes, or 2 3. Either way, if people can tell by this conversation we're having right now, and thank you, Macy, for participating. Like, let's throw 20 points out here, because I don't like to tell people like this is easy, because I mean, I'll just say the truth is everything we're doing is easy for me. It wasn't easy when I learned it, but it's easy now. So when I say things are easy now, it's just because, like, if someone was, writing an English report, they'd be like, that's easy. And I'd be like, it's impossible to have good grammar. They'd be like, you just have to practice. And I'll be like, I'm bad at grammar. And they're like, well, then you have to practice. So that'd be mean. I wouldn't like that. So just like I think grammar's impossible, I do understand when people jump into something I've been doing for a decade and they're like, this is really tough. But in my mind, I'm like, does it make sense? It's like if someone asked you, how do you ride a bike? You'd be like, you just get on and do it. And then you just ride. And so when I look at a lot of the concepts we're doing, my brain does that because I've been doing it for a decade, which I do think at times makes it harder to teach, because I forget the steps you need to do. Like if you say to someone how to ride a bike, you're just like, keep your balance and just pedal. And then they're like, but it's more complicated than that. And you're like, I don't know. That's what I do. That's all I'm doing in my head. So it's tough. And please do with that. I just want everyone to understand my whole point of that conversation was thank you, Macy, for communicating your experience with this, because your experience is going to be more in line with what students are experiencing than what I experience when I review the work I write, because I see it through a different lens. You see it through a student lens. So thank you, Macy. The midterm is going to be on Friday. Please, if you have a conflict, email me. One person's already emailed me. I'm also going to put out a form for people to fill out just to make sure I get everything aligned for the people who need to take it early. It was originally scheduled for Wednesday, but we moved it to Friday. We thought it'd be better with the week and with the timing. So if for some reason that created havoc in your life where you're like, oh man, I really wanted to take it on Wednesday, we can still give the test on Wednesday. And we already have one person signed up to take it on Wednesday. Just please contact me as soon as possible. I'll be sending out a form probably later tonight that you'll just fill out, and I'll make sure your midterm is given on Wednesday. All the details here, how long, material, don't cheat, please don't cheat, please don't cheat, please don't cheat. A scratch paper, note sheet, all this good stuff right here. And the take home is due Sunday. Do not wait to start the take home till Sunday. Has anyone looked at the take home yet, or any last questions about this? We're going to head over to 320 here in just a second. But any last questions about the take home, what is due, when it's due? You can see all the due dates here in green. When I sent out the announcement, they weren't in green. And I was like, thank you, Canvas. Why can't you send color? Why can't you do that, Canvas? At least you kept my formatting. Sometimes it took my formatting, just crunched into one big blob of words. And I'm like, I made it look pretty. And it doesn't look pretty anymore. So any last questions? You can just see the due dates coming up right here. The review quiz is first. Then you have the take home, the test. I tried downloading the take home exam. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but I don't know how to find the questions. Okay, cool. Let's take a look at that. Give me 2 seconds right here. I'm going to hop to space, and then let's go take a look at that. That's a really good question, Macy. I'll explain how to do it because it might be a little bit confusing because we don't always. Oh, I was doing something really cool last night. I'll mention this here briefly. So let me just show this real quick and then we'll talk about the take home. So if you are, 2 seconds. If you are in the Stat 201 online class, the asynchronous, I make all the modules and I work on them a lot of hours. And so I wanted to make a graphic that showed the law of large numbers that shows as we flip a coin, it's more likely to, like you'll see heads in the long run. So actually I'm using R to make the graphics. And so I did a simulation here of 1,000 coin flips. Hey, Kayla, good to see you. So this is ggplot, Kayla, right here, doing 1,000 coin flips, and I inserted a red line at the 50%. And then in the thing where I explain this, the 50% line is, where we would expect it to be, like the fair coin. And then you're flipping it 1,000 times. It first started out heads, 100% heads, and then as you flip, the law of large numbers says it's going to approach. And you could change this simulation pretty easily to put it to something like 10,000 flips and recreate the plot right here. And we'll go look at the exam here in half a second after we recreate this with 10,000 flips. So now the plot has 10,000 flips, and you can see it even gets closer to 50% right here. So it's going to approach even closer. It's funny because you can just see it start to, go a little bit off, but it really starts to zero in. And this is the law of large numbers. It never quite gets to 50%, but it's going to get closer and closer and closer as we do more and more flips. Law of large numbers. So I wanted to make kind of a nice graphic that showed this. If you look carefully in my code, you'll notice I did something a little bit interesting right here. I could have probably not done that, but yeah. I changed one coin flip because I was worried about the way I wrote my table. I was like, I want to get this to work, and this will make it work. Why did you assign that? Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the take home. Okay, the take home. What I'm going to do is I am going to clear this environment, and let's take a look at how the take home works. So definitely, this is going to be a big, big thing for the 320 students. Take home midterm. Okay, let's take a look at the screen. Here it is right here. How's the chat doing? Chat's doing good. This is take home midterm for 320. I'm going to go to space really quick. I like to put these cuts in the video so I know where I'm actually talking about things, so I can go back and be like, okay, it's take home midterm for 320. Let's do this. Do I need to yes. Do I need to go to make my exam the global environment? You bet. So here's the steps right here. You will open this inside of R, not RStudio. I might have sent you to this video because you were opening it inside of R. So this is an R environment. So does everyone see right here? This will be an R environment. If you don't have the version 2 of this, that's all right. It just creates the wrong file name, but it'll just have the wrong, you'll see. It'll just, please tell me if you have any confusion, but I updated this day and a half ago. I think early Saturday I updated it. I had it down for a little bit and then I updated it. Some people might have noticed. Someone did email me and say, why is the take home down? I said, I'm updating it. I will put it back up. It doesn't change any of the questions, but this right here. So you're going to take this right here and then you're going to open this inside of RStudio. So let's go here. Let's go ahead and download it. And mine opens inside of RStudio. So you see, this is what it looks like when it opens inside of RStudio. You're going to click yes. And then right there. Now, if yours did not open here, if it went to R, you need to go to this folder right here. So this folder is the open environment, open any sort of thing for this area. So you should see the make exam function appear. Now I'm going to show you what you should not do. This is what I wish, like, we needed the red flashing screen being like, don't do this. What you don't want to do is you don't want to just click on this. No, don't do this. This is bad. Don't do, it's not horrible. This is editing the function. This is the function that makes your midterm. This is not what you're doing. So what you need to do is you need to run the function make midterm, which is here in the instructions. Let's go back and look at those instructions again. And as it says, next run the function make midterm exam where your student ID is the numbers placed in. You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna go edit this right here. I'm gonna the other class too then, and let's put right here some highlighted color, and let's make this clear. Sure, there we go. And let's make this right here. That color, that's not stand out enough. Trying to draw more attention to this. So it's like, hey, this is what you're going to do. And because it's not a ton of people who make this error, but I've had multiple people like glance over this part. So I want to draw more attention. And next, run the function this, where the student ID is in the place of the things. It doesn't matter if you put the zeros or not. Make sure you put your student ID there, and that's got it. Make sure to turn this on time. Don't include the midterm by running the function. Save a global environment. Upload the answers to the form. Upload your RMG to Canvas. Good stuff right there. So you'll fill out the form right here with your answers. So there we go. First, last name. So you will put something in here like Brian Stevens. Please put first, last name. It really helps if you put it in that order, just because some people will then put last first. I'm like, no. If everyone puts it in the same way, it makes life a little bit easier for me. Student ID number. And there's the questions. Okay, so let's take a look at how to make the midterm. So you go here to make.exam. Then you type in your student ID. You can put in the zeros. Let's go 5555. That's not a real student ID. So there we go. It just made the midterm. And here it said it made the file. Now, if you don't put in the zeros, it will make the same midterm still. Like if you do this, I think it should be able to overwrite the file. Yeah. See, it says... I think it did. Either way, it makes the same. If you notice here, the zeros are off it either way. I just want to point that out. A lot of people ask me, does it matter if I put the zeros or not put the zeros? It doesn't matter if you put the zeros. Now, one thing I want to point out is if you close out of R and you lose your data, you need to remake your midterm. So could not find because I deleted off the function. We don't have the function anymore. So now I need to rerun the function. I'm just going to re-download it. I'm going to have like 20 copies of this on my computer. I'm opening it back up and I'm going to rerun it. So this is how to get the data back. If you lose the data, you need to remake the midterm. So I think I could just do this. But does everyone... Oh yeah, let's do this. If you lose the data, I want to see someone say this in the chat. If you don't have your data, how can you get your data back? If you don't have your data, I don't have my data. This is a key thing that I don't have my data. I can't. So... It can handle 30 copies, Dwight. Dwight, so good to see you. It can handle 30 copies. You'd be shocked. It's a really good computer. Thank you for helping us find it. I was like, who's that in the chat? Dwight is now a mod. Good to see you here, Dwight. What do you do if you don't have your data anymore? What do you do? Who knows? I know we got some 320s here. What will you do if you don't have your data? And I'll show you the answer again. So I don't have my data right now. So I don't have my data. What am I going to do since I don't have my data right now? Now I have my data. What did I do? So what did I do since I didn't have my data? So let's show it again. You're not going to purposely remove your data here, but I don't have my data. And now I do. So you don't really need to re-download. Great answer right there, Kelly. You don't really need to re-download the function unless you're Brian and you want to purposely download something 20 times. You rerun. Great job right there, Sarah. You are correct. Let's throw. You know what? This is a Dwight or random appearance by Dwight. We're throwing 100 points. We'll see Dwight in here in the stream. 100 points to everyone right there for Dwight just randomly appearing. This is awesome. I love seeing everyone. Everyone give shouts to Dwight. Tag Dwight in the chat. If you're watching live, say hey to Dwight. Dwight works in Haslam and does a bunch of our tech stuff, and I miss seeing him around campus. So Dwight just earned everyone 100 points right there. So give shout outs to Dwight for those free points. So once again, the answer is if you don't have your data, rerun the function, and you'll get it right there. Yes, everyone's happy about those points now. And people, you can see what happens when people check their points now. So it's like we got statuses, we got points. All the way 5,500 points, Leslie. Amazing works. Hero of Eternity right there. So with this right here, we've learned how to make our midterm. We've learned what's happened if we lose our data. We've learned how to open up the make midterm exam or how to run it in the global environment. So now what we need to do, and this is where I put up the classes over screen, it's not over, is I'm going over here and I'm just finding the file on my computer. So with this file, what did I call it? It is exam S21, exam S21. And so we see the file right here. What I'm doing, what's wrong? Got the zoom on. What I'm doing is I'm just typing it in after hitting Windows, or you can hit Command Spacebar, and this opens the file. So I just had a wrong due date on here, and it was last semester's due date because I was changing around the file. So I just changed that, and I don't think someone would think, oh, it was due in, October of last year. Like, oh my gosh, I missed the due date. So I wanted to update a few things in the file. So with this, you can see the questions. 320, would you like to do one question right here? Your student ID is 555. Do not try to type your student ID. Just copy this into the Google form. I would not, like, I literally say here, then copy paste this. Don't try to retype. Just double click, copy into the Google form. Who wants to do one question on here? I will do one question. I'll do one question of your take home midterm. There should be 13 questions. 13 questions. Who wants to do one question? Kayla says yes. Macy says yes. Okay, so should we do the second question? Adam says yes. Sarah says yes. Now, these answers are right or wrong. They are right or wrong. So should we do like the second question? Should we just do the second question? Everyone right? I got Maddie saying yes. Let's do this. Okay, so here we go. Copy paste in the Google form the value in row 87 from column promotion data. Okay, so who can tell me? Here's the words you need. Who can tell me how to get the vector? We're gonna do this in little bits. Here's the name of the data frame we're using. Here's the name of the vector inside of the data frame. Who can tell me how to pull up the vector inside the data frame? You can do like some shorthand, but just think, how would you get to a vector inside of a data frame? Like, that's the first thing we should know how to do. Like, looking at this right here, we want to get the 87th value. I'll show you like 3 ways of doing it. So it's best when you know 3 ways how to do something, and then we'll hop over to 201 next. Thank you, 201, for hanging out. It's a big talk for 320 to start. They have a big test coming up. How can we get this? You are allowed to put answers for this. I am working this one out. Exactly. People are like, wait, Brian, you said... I'm just kidding. Because in class, I'm like, don't help anybody. But I'm like, okay, I'm allowed to do things like this. Okay, so let's go right here. And there's the vector. You could actually go and you could count 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87. It should be 9.4 and 9.4. And we found it. We did it 2 ways there. We pulled up the vector, and looking through the vector, we counted to the 87th element. So this is the 81st element. That's what that means right there. 82nd, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 87th element. Another way of doing this is to go right here to say you want column promotion and the 87th row. Another way is we want data 1, right? To go right here to data 1 and to scroll down and go to this right here, go to row 87 and see promotion 9.4. There's 3 ways of doing it right here. There's 3 ways. Exactly, Kayla. Great job right there. And so hopefully this makes sense, like as you work through it, that, there's a lot of ways to do things. Maybe try to do 2 ways. Like if you're worried, did I get the right answer? Be like, okay, could I do this another way? And I'm already thinking of more ways that are just kind of like not as good, because there's just ways that are not as good. Like, I guess, like, you could, I don't know. There's ridiculous ways. Like, okay, here's a ridiculous way. Let's make a subset where the subset is from data. Do not do this way. This way is ridiculous. Select equals promotion. There's that. And then we go to sub. It should just be a vector. And we're going to the 7th. It's not a vector. It's a data frame still, right? But it's only one dimensional. It's only one dimension. That's interesting. I wonder if we could do this. As.vector. Yep. There's the as.dot family has so much in it. Sub square 87. Ooh, it doesn't like it still. That doesn't turn it into a vector? What does as.vector do if it doesn't turn into a vector? I'll be. That's craziness right there. I guess we could go here and do this, and then we could overwrite sub with this, and then go here and go sub. This is ridiculous. That's absolutely ridiculous. But our answers may be different since exactly. Dude, this is not great, Macy. Let's start 20 points right there. I was like, do not do this. I mean, do not put this answer down. Your answers will be different, Macy. Great point right there. This is not the answer. Someone maybe just put in 9.4 is the first answer. No. Does that make sense to everybody right here? And do people have a little more confidence in doing this take home right now that we've done the first one? We've talked through it a little bit here. Is this making a little more sense? You don't have to do all those ways. That third way was ridiculous. Like, this is like probably Brian's way, decent way, and the third way was just a horrible way. Don't do this way. This is ridiculous. That is insane. Like, this just it gets you the answer, but it's like, what are you doing? just go and get the answer. don't do 4 or 5 lines of code for something that you can do with just go to the vector and get the position. So this way is all right too. I've never loved calling, one other way. If you know it's the third column, like, I didn't know for a long time you could put column names there, but it's just you can put the name of the column or you can put the position of the column. You'd have to know promotion is the third column. That's the wrong data frame. Any other last questions from 320? Hopefully this gives you a little more confidence. I would remember you can't be emailing people about your work, so do not do that. Don't, whatever you do that. Don't email people about your work. Any last questions? This is your chance, 320, to ask those questions. Ask any questions. I'll give it 20 seconds right here. That makes me smile that Dwight swung by. I think we'll put on a little music and we'll start talking to a 1 here in a second. It's too happy. This is the music I want. This is my chill music. It's probably one of my favorite songs on here. It's a rolling chord at the bottom, like a 1-5-1. Are we going to review in class? You bet. We are going to review. I think we're going to review, we're going to start some new material, but it's not going to be like new material. I'm going to bridge the gap between simple and multiple regression. Like, here, I'll give an example really quick. I want you to think about this. So for 320, we could do the data set. What are the name of the variables inside of here? Let's predict promotion. So we're using one of those data sets here. Let's do the following. And then 201 will start up. Okay. Ooh. I like it. Okay, what do you think about all this? Ah, look at that. Oh, gosh. Okay. Crazy output. Crazy output. Okay. Ooh, how many conditions do we fail? How many conditions do we fail? 320. This is multiple regression now. In multiple regression, there's a linearity condition for each of these. And if you notice, it's saying it can't do it for this. It's saying it can't do it, and it can't do it because this variable is categorical. So there is no linearity for categorical variables. So you just don't have that condition for this. It's saying it does not apply. That's what NA means. It's missing. This other one is missing because there's not enough replicates or duplicates. I first learned them as the name replicates. It means that there's not enough repeat values to perform the test. It just means due to a lack of what we need, we can't do the test. So that doesn't mean you fail. It's just mean, it's like, test it for this. And you're like, I can't test it. And you're like, okay, I don't know if it passes or fails. We just don't have info. How many tests do we fail? We passed them all. Kaylee, you're 100% right. And we haven't even learned this. So the difference with multiple regression from simple is you actually have a linearity condition for each X. We'll talk more about indicators later on. That'll be after multiple regression. Don't worry, these are indicator variables because it's categorical variables. So these are indicators. That's another topic. A whole nother chapter is on indicator variables. We do multiple, then we do indicators. Indicators are categorical X's. That's what those are. Now you pass them all. You're done. You actually did. If you look at all those p-values and you're like, you passed, you're like, okay, your regression's good. And you know what's really neat, which we don't need to look at. The plot looked pretty good. Everything looked good over here. I mean, that's about as good as it gets. I mean, but you don't have to look at this because everything was good. But I mean, line goes through the middle, equal spread, and everything's good right there. So this is a good regression. How'd the regression do? Last thing to look at. How did the regression do? Wow. I'm very impressed. So, one last song here. This is what we'll be covering. So what do people think about this? Like, why is Brian happy about this? Why is Brian happy about this regression? I looked at it and I was just like, oh gosh, that's that's impressive. I was like, that's a regression right there. That's the real deal. We pass the conditions. Our regression is appropriate here. And I look down here at all this and I'm like, that's really good. That's a very good regression. You can start to look at, I mean, there's a lot to talk about here, a lot to analyze. This is what immediately catches my eye. And then this. We talked a little about R-squared adjusted, and these are the topics we're going to kind of talk about this week. Yeah, we can tap this model explains 96.2% of the variation in promotion. So it looks like it accounts for almost all the variation. And when we adjust the R-squared for how many variables in the model, it goes down to like 96%. Yeah, this looks super practically significant because it explains pretty much everything about promotion. We typically miss the promotion amount by about 0.43 on average. Yeah, ridiculously significant, 391 times more variation than we would expect explained by random chance. The coefficients, there are some p-values. Friendliness is what's super significant. Last thing. Drop one. Oh, test equals. There we go. I mean, yeah, it looks like friendliness is the only variable that matters. Let's go back here, remake our model. Check regression turns out good. Ooh, Kayla, look at that. Last thing, last thing here. Last thing, here we go for the last thing for us. Now that we found this out, Kayla, this is the real deal. Model 1. This is called a partial F test. We will recover this, not this week. We're not going to do partial F this week. This is called a partial F test right here. The partial F is going to let us to see how much better the simple variable is the simple model. We'll call it simple then. How much better the simple model is than the complex model. Do we see additional variation explained from the simple to the complex? And so from simple to complex, is the variation explained statistically significant? And the answer is no. And so I was kind of noticing this, that the one variable, like this is a one variable model, Kayla, and it explains 95.93% of the variation. And look at this, 95.9, and that is 95.9 basically. The multiple model explains 96.2% of the variation, and then the adjusted R-squared is basic. Oh, it's even lower, 95.9. What was this one over here? This one's 95.9 also. They're identical. So they're identical in that format. And then looking at the ANOVA, we see going from the simple model to the complex model, the change in the amount of variation explained is not statistically significant. So all this right here, the partial F test asks, if you go from the simple to the complex, which a simple model is one that has less variables in it, is the amount of variation explained statistically significant, like the increase in the variation explained? And the answer is no. The increase to statistical significant, the increase to variation explained is not statistically significant. Kayla or anybody, did you follow this? We're gonna do 201 here in 20 seconds. I got excited. I got some interesting models, and I was like, oh, I want to look at the data. But did any of this make sense? Like, as I did certain tests here and was looking at the variables and seeing going from a model with one variable to a model with like 6 variables, if that actually helped. And the answer was no. The one variable model is what we should use, because the one variable model explains 95.9% of the variation. The multiple model explains 96.2% of the variation. Pretty much all the variation we're seeing explained comes from the one variable. So we should probably just stick to the one variable model. Like, we shouldn't increase your models. It's kind of Occam's razor, like, do not increase. Yeah. So that's what we're doing with multiple regression. Does it feel like what we're doing right now? That's what I hope you see, is you're like, we've been doing this the whole time, Brian. We've been looking at these p-values. We've been looking at ANOVAs. We've been doing this right here. And that's what I'm going to try to do this week, is try to bridge this gap and talk about concepts we've been doing, but then apply them to the new things we'll be doing to kind of set like some groundwork. So this week will be very important because it'll bridge the gap between what's to come and what we are learning. Oh, I love my fiance. I miss her. All right. Let's. Oh, 2 seconds here, everybody. Oh my God. Can I show this? It's a picture of a bunny, and he's laying outside. I don't think there's any way guys can see this. Oh, you can. He's laying under the table. That's a bunny right there laying under the table. That's a bunny. You can see it, I think. As a bunny. He's as a bunny. There's Morty on stream today. So, with that, let's get started here. And 201. How you doing, 201? Am I the only one who has a bunny? Morty. Our mascot. 201 time. You bet, Bailey. A rabbit giver. Oh, that's nice, Kayla. Did that just yeah, Bunny's outside. He's relaxing. He's so cute. If for anyone else who's ever had a bunny, they will tell you they are very personable, they're very nice. They'll come sit next to you and they'll like put their head against you. Bunnies are she's right. Oh yeah, exactly. Though they're good with litter boxes and stuff like that. They're so Bailey, how personable is your bunny? Will your bunny like come up and like rest against you and be all like nice and snuggly and like bunnies are super nice. Bunnies are I didn't know it till we had our bunny. But statistics 201. We'll start talking statistics 201. That's a bunny talk right there. Yeah, exactly. They're really they love people. Like like dogs love people, cats sometimes love people, but bunnies are really like Bun will just hop over. Yeah, like a puppy. It's like a little puppy. So you potty train them, all that good stuff. Yeah, bunnies are cool. I like bunnies. We should get another little bun for Bun. I don't know. Okay, here we go. So with 201, asynchronous releasing modules tonight. Is anyone here in the asynchronous class? I could actually probably show 2 seconds here. I could show you what I'm doing. I've got one of them almost done. But please tell me if you ever see errors in these, if you think we should have improvements. But we had old modules the way we used to do these. We had older modules. And who in the 201 class has been enjoying the modules? Like if you're in the asynchronous class, have you been enjoying the modules right now? I want your input. I really mean it. Because if people were like, I hate these modules, Brian, these are the worst thing ever. I'd be like, oh gosh. I want to know what you like about the modules too, because I've done them all a bit differently. We've got like the full review thing down here, which it should have the right video, and I have to replace the video when it goes into here, chapter review. So it's got the review portions I put in here, but I have to go through and make these. And so I've been going through doing the rules of probability. I have to add in a few more questions. Yes, I was like, I need to put comic books in here. When I put this right here, note meeting him at Comic-Con doesn't count. It's still cool though. So talking about probabilities, talking about stuff like this, there'll be more questions. I was trying to add in a bunch of questions to different things you have to do. But all of this, please, if you ever see typos, let me know. Here's the graphic I was talking about that I was creating right here. So it has the points telling you what's going on with the law of large numbers, all of this right here, and all the different checks and the different questions. And so all of this is being constructed, everything fresh this semester. So you're not seeing something, yeah. Hey, what's up, Caleb? Good to see you here. Coin flip. Oh, wait, who knows what the third coin flip's going to be? You're going to see the secrets. Then the fourth one, what's the final coin flip going to be? It's going to be heads. I'm talking about independent trials right here and what is random phenomena. So the modules will be released tonight. I like them. Some take a while and others aren't too bad. Oh, that's so cool, Bailey. Thank you so much. And please give comments. And if you ever think that something's not clear enough, please tell me. My goal for this, Bailey, is I'd really like it if we could send this to other universities, because there's universities that are like the hub for certain topics. Like they're like, oh, this university does this. And I'd love it if our modules became like, oh yeah, you should have Stat 201 do the thing UT does, use their modules. I really want to make a high quality product right here. And it's, I will release this later tonight, both of them, probably way later because I know the ones are due, but I'm a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to these, and my reading capabilities are very bad. We've already caught a few typos. Yeah, exactly. If UT makes money and I make money, that'd be great. If UT makes money, that's cool too. But and thank you. Like my department bought the everything, and so it's it's an actual real program, and I'm really and it uses my videos and stuff. So or I put my videos into it. So it takes time. Takes most weekends I'm sitting around designing those things, and we relaxed a little more this weekend, so I gotta catch up. You bet, Ben, you bet. So we'll do that next year. We're releasing those modules. So we got chapter 10 doing assignment soon. You bet, we got this, don't worry. That's the big question today. Chapter 10 canvas content. Canvas Canvas content due tonight. So that's due tonight. Do we have anything else major? What else major do we have? Bailey likes that right there. We are going to do some chapter 10. What else do we have? I'm going to go look at, if you know something else. Oh, 10 class live. So if you are not in the asynchronous section, please attend class live. We give out tons of points, and I think it just makes life easier. It's a lot hard. This is something we noticed. I won't go back to the data again, but we noticed with the data that people who are attending class live are doing better and studying less. So now that doesn't mean you can't do well if you don't attend class live, but we do just see the trend in the data that people who attend class live study less and do better in the class. We have chapter 12 due this week also. So chapter 10, and that's it. Canvas content due tonight, and we have chapter 12. So let's put chapter 12. Due Thursday. Okay, let's start talking about some chapter 10 here. Let's do it. Everyone ready? Who's ready in the chat for chapter, all those points on Mega Mondays? You bet, Caitlin, you bet. Grace also wants chapter 10, it sounds like. So let's log in. Ma Pearson Laboratories. Remind me later. Really good advice starting out here, and just you just kind of need to set your mind and make a plan for the week. I think a lot of times, like, be like, okay, here's where I'm at. Here's what I need to do. And it just helps to organize. So thank you, everyone who stayed through the organization phase. Now let's get to the doing work phase. I'm pulling up chapter 10 quiz right now. And let's see. There are some tough ones on this. There are some tough ones. Ooh, we got tons of questions. Ooh, we got tons of questions. Let's do this right here. Which question were people wondering about? Which question were people wondering about? Jacob is ready. Bonesaw is ready. Does anyone know that reference by me? Bonesaw is ready. Is that what he says? He says something like that. Man, I love that movie. Am I the only one who knows that reference? What are you doing up there? Oh, man. Nobody knows. I don't know. I'm not going to tell you the reference. You can go through and find it. I'd be like, Brian, those are the old movies. Those are so old. Like, whatever, they came out when I was in college. Oh, God, I got to stop. It's Spider-Man. I got you for I got 2 whole minutes of playtime. What's he say? I got you for 2 whole minutes of playtime. Hey, Caleb, thank you so much. Caleb knows what I'm talking about. Okay, Billy's got the question. For the following report about a statistical study, identify if possible the population parameter of interest, the sample frame, the sample. Awesome. Okay. Oh, man. That movie's so good. Okay. We got to find this one here. Let's find it. I'm watching Spider-Man in my head right now. Caleb, you earned everyone 20 points. And Brian's going to get serious here. We're going to put on serious face. Tell me if you see it. If I pass over it, let me know. Brian's getting serious. I don't want to be serious, though. Where is it? Oh, yeah, here it is. Okay, cool. So here's the question we were talking about. For the following report about a statistical study identify possible at population, the population is all people or things we want to understand. The population parameter of interest, that's what we're measuring. Like, that's what we want to understand about a population. So you have the population is all people or things. The parameter of interest, which can be the population parameter of interest, is all things you want, like what you want to understand about the population. Like, maybe we want to understand people who will vote in the next election. And then we want to understand what percent a certain candidate's going to get of the vote. The sample frame are the people we have access to. So the sample frame is every person I think you have access to. And the sample is going to be what you actually collect data on. The sample method is going to be how you collect that data, include whether or not was it randomized, was anyone left out, all those parts there. Okay. A magazine interviewed 1,085 randomly selected people. So they're interested in people. The magazine reports that when asked, there's an extra space right here, right? What are you doing, Mount Pearson? What are you doing? When asked if ever the effects of global warming will begin to happen, 60% said the effects had already begun. 10% thought they would never happen. I guess 30% said eventually. I don't know. There's not a. We're going to talk this week about compliments, and so this does not add up to 100%. So there had to have been other questions. Just looking at it, there has to be other answers to the questions, I should say. So what is the population? Okay, the population is going to be all people or things they want to understand. So it's not the people they randomly selected. I hate the ones that say it's unclear. It's possible I might get one wrong today, so you get to see some right answers. Sometimes the answer is that it's unclear, but I think they're just trying to understand people because they surveyed people. It is a little bit unclear. I hate them when they put this unclear answer. I don't think they should ever do that. I realize sometimes things are unclear, but that's kind of odd because it's like, okay, they're saying people. I can tell you it's definitely not the population is everyone who believes in global warming. I can tell you it's definitely not the randomly selected people because that's the sample. The population is everyone who does not believe. No, that's just an opinion. So it has to be either B or E. What is the parameter of interest? This is what we want to measure about the population. So the question we were asking, which is pretty clear, their thoughts on global warming. The population parameter is the proportion who responded. Nope. The population is the randomly people. Nope. The parameter, we could just call it parameter. Like they're just, population parameter just means parameter. I hope that's clear. I don't know if I selected the right one. The population parameter is the proportion of people who believe that global warming has already begun. The proportion who think it'll ever happen. Yeah, that's what they're measuring. That's the data they collected on. The population parameter of people who subscribe. No, that's their sample frame sounds like. So their sample frame would be the people they have access to, and it's probably the people who subscribe to the magazine, because how else are they going to get a hold of people? They have to have access to them. So what is the sample frame? Oof. Oh, no. Now this one I'm afraid on. And I've done these questions tons of times. Please, if you get something wrong like this, and you can email me if you're like, hey, Brian, I might say, no, unfortunately, that one's wrong. You never know. You can always email me about things you get wrong. See, okay. C and D are 100% wrong. Those are not, what is the sample frame? The sample frame or sampling frame, either one's fine to call it. The sample frame is all people or things we have access to. And if there is one that is unclear, it's going to be this. If there is one that's unclear, because I don't know who they have access to, I'm going to be really mad if it's all people, because I don't know if they have access to all people. It didn't say they have access to everybody. They don't have access to me. I do not know. The sample frame looks to be more along the lines of people who subscribe to the magazine. I'd love to put that as the sample frame because that makes more sense who they have access to. We're starting off here with like the hardest one. Bailey, great advice right here. What is the sample? That's easy. The sample is the people they collected data on. That one's super easy. It's just gonna be the people collect data on. Man, I hate this one. I hate this question. It's a tough question. It's a magazine. So what method did they use? They interviewed 1,085 randomly selected people. If I'm to say anything here, I think this is unclear also. Is the sample frame method random? Oh, it does say. It does say it's random. So the sample method used is random. I like the math question. It's hard to get a math question wrong. It says it's random, so we're going to go with that. I'm going to be really mad if it's not random because a magazine interviewed 1,085 randomly selected people. So you're telling me it's random right there. So who was left out of this study? Oof, tough one. People who are not subscribed to the magazine. Did it say people who were not chosen? No, this is it. People who are not chosen. A lot of people select this one. This one is not correct because you can just be not chosen for a study. Like, what does it mean to be left out? It means like you're excluding certain, like if you only talk to freshmen, you'd be leaving out other classes of students. That's not a good sampling method to say, I'm going to talk to freshmen about their views on classes. Then that would exclude people from the survey who are going to be different in their views than just freshmen. So it would be undercovering other classes. So people who were chosen in interviews but did not respond. This is non-response bias right here. And that's a plausible answer. See, if this is the sample frame, then that's like under coverage. There's plausible answers here, but they don't really make it clear that anyone was left out. Like they're not saying anybody. I'm going to go with no one was left out because they don't really make it clear. We're probably going to do a little cleanup on this question. What type of bias is evident in the sample? Oh man, I really hate this question. So undercoverage and response bias, non-voluntary response bias, undercoverage and non-response bias. If we choose an answer here, Brian's about to do very bad on a question. Good to see you, Mon. Good to see you. About to have a very bad time with this question. What type of bias is evident in this sample? There's no evidence that these people are volunteering. There's no evidence that they're not responding to us. Undercoverage and non-response, no. It's probably none. What problems can you see in generalizing? The question itself is related to those who responded, no. Reason magazine may be inclined to respond one way or another. Those who respond may have strong feelings one way or another. Yeah, okay, that's, but then that's going towards response bias. No, the question wording is not really. How badly did we do? I know, I'm not a fan of this one either. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, we got that one right. We got that one right. We got that one right. It's a great thing right here, right? You better not. Okay, we got that one right. Which one did I get wrong? We got that one right. This one is, there's no way that one's wrong. Okay. We didn't get this one right. Okay. It's all people. Yeah. I told you I would be very unhappy if that was all people. So I should have went to the one I was like 50-50 on, but they're saying they have access to all people. I think truthfully that one's unclear. Please tell me. Like I was saying, if you remember, if you rewind the tape on this, I was like, it's unclear. We got one other one wrong. This one has to be right. I'm shocked if that one's wrong. Yeah, that one's right. There's that one right. What is the population? Really? No, this one's right. Where's the other one we got wrong? Where's the other one we got wrong? Oh, it's this one. Did I say none to begin with? Oh, wait. Didn't I say none on this one? I think we only got one wrong. Did I misclick at the end? I think we only got one wrong, Bailey. Did I say there was none? I thought I said there was none to begin with. Maybe when did I change that one? I think the only one we got wrong, which is good. I feel all right about that. The only one we got wrong was the one about what is the sampling frame. So, yeah, it was none, right? So the answer is, it was none on the other. No, I did say none on this one too, right? Didn't I say none? And then did I change this one right here? It's tough. This is a tough one. We can do a way easier one, like the roller coaster one that's a little more clear. I hate the ones that always say like, it's unclear. It's unclear. This is, I'm not even joking. Like, this is probably one of the toughest quizzes there is. Like, it's multiple choice. I don't know. We need to maybe look at the questions and revise them because I do not like this question as much. Like, let's find a better one right here. Let's like look at this. This one's obvious. Let's do it. You're trying to study the amount of financial aid students at your university receive. You sample 50 students and find out the average size of the financial aid package. The average of your sample is a statistic. So from a sample, we get a statistic. If you know the answer before looking at it, you are good. A sample statistic either way, because from your sample, you get a statistic. And you want to understand the population parameter. When you do questions like this, hopefully you can fill in the blanks before you get to them. We're just not today, my Pearson. You are doing a study for a non-profit group helping at-risk children in your city. Suppose you know that 14.2% of the children live in poverty. This percent is an example of a what? So you know this. This is the truth. So if you know this, what is this? Who knows what the answer is? Don't click on it. See if you know it. We just did sample statistics, so it's the other one. Because you know this one. This is the truth. So it's important to understand what these words mean right here. And that's what we're getting at. Which one right there? Did someone post another one? This one's not that. I don't think everyone's saying this one's hard because this one you probably only got two choices. Yep. Well, so the population is the children who live in poverty, or the children, and then the percent that live in poverty is going to be the population parameter. So the parameter, and that's called sometimes the parameter of interest. I think sometimes the harder thing for people for this is they might call it here like the population parameter of interest. So understanding that the only word that matters when you see population parameter of interest, the only word that matters here, exactly, Caitlin, yep. And so the only word that matters when you see population parameter of interest, the only thing that matters here is parameter. Sometimes population is called the population of interest, because it's just the population you're interested in understanding. And then the parameter is always for a population. So if you say, what is the parameter? Like, what parameter are we measuring? That does mean you are interested in it. It does mean it's for a population. You don't have to say population parameter of interest. And I think that's where some confusions can be caused, because I've had people ask me, what's the difference between the parameter and the population parameter? And it's just like, well, it's like I'm Brian, but I'm also Brian Stevens. So the parameter is also the population parameter of interest. So knowing this wording can really help if you get to kind of some easier questions like this, which this is really hard to get wrong, especially if you write it down or if you see it on here and you look at the answers. If you create an online survey, individuals who choose on their own whether to participate, this causes a form of what bias? So people are choosing. We're not going to click the answers here. We're just going to make sure we know the answers. And I think these are really good questions towards what we have on the test. I'm focusing on these for a moment to fill in the blanks, because I think these are really good for what we have on the test. Like, if you look at our test is not as hard as the hardest ones. Well, close. That actually, my brain kind of went to that first. And I don't think it's going to be non-response. They're choosing whether to participate. So they're kind of doing what? And this is not people who purposely don't respond. Voluntary, that's what I went towards. And it's a little more like non-response. I do agree. There's kind of some overlap. And luckily, so I think it's going to be voluntary. Let's find out. Boom, we got it. See, that was a tough one, because my brain also thought non-response, but non-response is more. So here's the distinguishing, Maggie. Like, I always think about non-response for like controversial topics where people are being like, I just don't want to talk about that. Like, voluntary is more people deciding to take it, and non-response is more people deciding against taking it. Does that make sense? Which I know it's kind of the same, like if you're volunteering or not volunteering. But voluntary, I think of someone getting excited about taking it and being like, oh, I really want to take that survey. And then non-response, someone being like, oh, I really don't want to take that survey. Like, there's more. Does that help distinguish the two? Like, non-response is when it's more associated with someone not wanting to take it, and voluntary is when someone's more excited about taking it. That's a tough one, because there is some overlap. Hey, Brian, what is good thing to look at before I take the content quiz today? Kahoots. We got the Kahoot playlist. Let's throw that in the chat real quick again. But the Kahoot playlist has it right here. Let's go grab the video. Kahoots. Yeah, that's a tough one. It's so funny, because we were talking about how easy these are, and then we hit one that's a little bit, and they put non-response in there, so it's tricky. When you sample so that every combination of individuals in your population has an equal chance of being chosen, you are taking a what? So the steps for this, we'll go over this again today. The steps for this are give everything in the population a number, because I wish they went through it. So you give everything in the population a number, and then you randomly take those things. So it'd be clear, yeah. So people are like, with non-response, people are going to clearly choose to not respond, like due to the nature of the question. They're going to be like, I don't want to talk about that. Or like, people are hanging up on the phone. So they're not really volunteering then. They're not responding to you, which there's some overlap between this. Like, there's some like voluntary and non-response are a little bit similar. That's a tough thing. And we try not to put, I wouldn't try to put those two together as choices on tests, because I can see how there's overlap. So this is when we give everything in the population a number. So you give everything in the population a number, and then you choose these numbers randomly. This is going to be what type of sampling method? Here's the methods of sampling. Simple random sample, systematic, cluster, stratified, and multi-stage. Those are the ones we talk about. Simple random sample, simple random sample, systematic, cluster, stratified, and multi-stage sampling, which is combining together. So what sampling method sounds like? You give everything, yep, simple random sample, boom, simple random sample, you got it. And try to take these this way where you don't look at the answers. I keep stressing that. The more you can like get the answer by not looking at the choices, the more you reinforce in your head. If you're like, what are the methods of sampling? And you're like, let me think. And then you can use the answers if you need a hint. Use the answers like a hint right here. A friend of yours in an intro stat class obtains permission to randomly sample the university students. They take this sample this way. And so let's say your university has to be evenly split, like an even amount of sophomores, an even amount of juniors, an even amount of freshmen, an even amount of seniors. So when we look at this type of sampling method here, we're acknowledging differences first, and then we're sampling in accordance to those differences. So here's the hints right here. 1, acknowledge a difference like class level. And then 2, sample in accordance to those differences by randomly taking individuals from those groups. Close, Maggie, and that's where the confusion's at. That's so close. It won't be cluster, because when we do cluster, that's so close. It'll be strata. The difference between cluster and strata is oftentimes a confusing thing. Here's the way to know it's not cluster. When you take a cluster sample, you take all of that group. So I always say, like, we're going to take a cluster of donuts. You're going to get a dozen donuts, and you're going to eat all the donuts. Does that make sense? So, like, if you get a dozen donuts, you'll eat all the donuts. So what do you notice they're doing right here? Are they sampling all seniors? So Ben's got it right there. Are they sampling all the seniors? Strata is when you say, like, we have these differences. We're going to take, like, percentages from the differences, like strata. So, like, strata means, like, layers or groups. And then cluster, you take the whole cluster at one time. So this will not be cluster because we're not going to take all the seniors. We're just going to sample in accordance to the percentages of the population. So is this clear, Maggie? This is probably one of the tougher parts of the sampling methods. I've literally had questions on cluster and strata, and it's 50-50 people get it right. Like, it'll be like, is this cluster or is this strata? And I'll do it today probably, and half the class will guess cluster, half the class, I don't know if they're guessing or what, but it'll be a 50-50. We're like, no. Guess random chance we're at. So let me ask you this. Here, let's do two examples. If I were to say we're going to go to the dorms on campus and we want to get a representative sample from the dorms, do you think we should do a cluster sample of dorms, or do you think we should do stratify by dorm? Do you think we should do a cluster sample of dorms, or do you think we should do a strata, like, to get a representative sample from the dorms? Do you think, to, like, see what students think about student life, do you think we should stratify by dorm or do a cluster sample of dorms? Don't worry if you get it wrong. I will explain the answer. I'm going to cross my fingers so we get it right. Don't worry. And I'll explain how each one would work, and then I want to see if you stay with your answer. I'm going to say how they work after you take a guess at it, and then I'm going to, like, go into the way you would do it. Stratified. Not giving a hint, but okay. So if you stratify by dorm, you're going to say, so you're going to acknowledge a difference, like people's lives in Grieve, which was the dorm I lived in. People's lives in Grieve may differ from those lives in Strong versus those lives in Sophie. Strong's gone right now, right? Sure. All the dorms I lived in, or all the dorms I remember, are gone. Versus Brown versus Orange. Orange and White are renamed. If people can tell me those new names, I'm not walking around campus anymore, so I don't get to see them. But you're going to say that these people's lives, South Carrick, North Carrick, Reese, Humes is gone. Reese gone too. Whole Pres course going away. But you're going to say that people's lives would be different. So let's sample a certain percentage. Yes, definitely, Raina, definitely. You're going to sample a percentage of students in each dorm. Does that make sense? That's what you're going to do to stratify. Stratify starts by acknowledging a difference and then sampling in the dorms in those percentages. Like, maybe 8% of students live in Brown, so your sample will be 8% Brown. Maybe 5% of students live in Strong, so your sample is going to be 5% Strong. So how would cluster different? Cluster means you take a whole group, and so you would take one dorm and talk to every student in that dorm. So you're going to go to Brown and talk to every student in Brown. That would be a cluster by dorm. Does that make sense? The cluster just means you take a whole bunch at once. So repeat question here. What sounds like it'd be more representative of students to go and sample the percentages according to each dorm and get 8% Brown and 7% Strong and 10% North Carrick and 9% South Carrick, and you do the percentages based on the dorms and talk to a certain percentage that makes up your population. Or you could take just one dorm as a cluster and say, we're going to sample every student in this dorm. And of course, Sydney, ask a question. Feel free to. Yep. So which of those? Yep. And that is what we're doing here. I was waiting for it to be wrong. Be like, no. Stratified, exactly. Some of your friends, ask away, Sydney. Some of your friends in your political science class are angry about a Newtown ordinance restricting off-campus. While Pearson trying to just be on top of those topics, college students are unhappy about ordinances about off-campus parties. They make an online survey asking students' opinions. This type of sampling method may be classified as what? So if you put a survey online, you're not really getting a good view of what's going on. Online surveys aren't the worst, but you're kind of just going for convenience, for ease of use. So convenience. It's a good example of a convenience survey. Can you do, let's do the amusement park one. You bet. I will ace that amusement park one. This is our revenge on my Pearson right here. Revenge my Pearson. Is a dish best served with right answers. When you compare two models, which one's better? The one that failed the assumptions but had a higher square, or the one... It depends on, Sydney, great question right there to answer Sydney's question. If you're comparing two models, it really depends on Well, one, look at the R squareds. If your first model has an R squared of 98%, your second model has an R squared of 2%. Here, I'll draw it out real quick. So let's say model 1 right here. And then we'll hop right back to the amusement park one real quick. Quick 320 interlude right here. Model 1 has an R squared equal to 98%. And model 2 has an R squared equal to 2%. So with this alone right here, what does this mean about your Y variable? Model 1 explains 98% of the variation in the Y variable, where Model 2 explains 2% of the variation. So just alone, Model 1 is way better here. I mean, this is like playing in the major leagues versus playing T-ball. Nothing against playing T-ball. That's about where I stopped playing baseball. So you can see like this drastic difference between these two. Now, you want to pass assumptions, but what if Model 1, does like bad on assumptions and Model 2 does great? Well, Model 2 is limited by its R squared. Model 2, no matter how great it does on assumption, is going to always be a model that doesn't explain much of the variation. But Model 1 is a model playing in the major leagues, but has some issues. But we know all models are wrong. So even though this model here does bad on the assumptions, we probably want to know how bad does it do, because that's the question. It's like, well, I really want to use Model 1. How bad does it do? Model 2, even if it does perfect on the assumptions, especially if we change this over here, it's really limited by this R squared. Let's say on the assumptions it does perfect on the assumptions. Why would you still not use Model 2? Model 2 I'm not going to use anyways, no how. Model 2 is worthless to me. Why is Model 2 worthless? So even though Model 2 does perfect on the assumptions now, why is Model 2 worthless? So like talking about the R squared here, just think about what it means to have an R squared of 0. Why would Model 2 be worthless? You're like, yeah, it does perfect on those assumptions, but who cares? Because why? It does perfect on the assumptions. I mean, I really want to know about Model 1. I'm gonna say throw away. Exactly. The R squared is so low that we explain 0% of the variation. This model is the same as the naive model. This model is going to look like a flat line and look like this. This one up here could theoretically, like the good model we're going to use, could theoretically look something like this. What do you think is maybe, and 201 can answer this too, and they'll hop right back to the quiz. What do you think is maybe the issue with this model up here? Which I mean, we could probably fix it somehow. But what looks to be the issue with this model up here? Like if you look at this model right here, what do you think is probably the issue why it's failing the assumptions? I mean, it's got a super high R squared. This model on here is junk. It's garbage. I'll redraw it as we think about the issue for that green model. We'll put the junk garbage model in red down here. This model does no better by random chance. It's just going to look like this. If an R squared of 0, you're seeing a flat line because correlation would be 0. So this model is the junk garbage model that does nothing. And then the top model, exactly, let's throw some 20 points. Yep, Maggie and everyone, you're all right. And this is what we cover in 320. We would see here that it's going to fail the conditions for probably linearity. There might be other issues. It's got a good equal spread. But thank you, Maggie and everybody, for answering in. That's what we talk about in 320 also. So even though this model, might pass all the conditions for like being a good model, it just means that the model kind of reflects reality when we use it. Sure, this model reflects reality, and reality is that it's horrible. So it reached its potential of being horrible. This model up here has potential to be great, but has issues with the linearity, especially. That's the quickest one to see, that the line does not go through the center of the data. And if you turn it to a residual plot, you're going to see it right there. Like in a residual plot, you would see the same thing. So we should know very quickly what residual plots are. And a residual plot is when you take that line, make it flat, and you can see right here that the line is going around. Now the equal spread looks good, but overall, we do have issues, but I'm going to probably be using this model. I mean, I have ways, statisticians like, why don't you fit a polynomial? Yes, I would fit a polynomial model. We haven't taught that yet, statisticians. Stop. I'm trying to teach. There's steps. We don't just teach polynomial models on day one. But there's ways to handle those issues, and we could start like figuring out better models. But all models are wrong. Some are useful. So here we are with the roller coaster problem. You're watching old videos. Yeah, that's awesome, Sydney. Thank you so much. Thank you. I try to we do some 201, we do some 320. You can always hop in and ask a question. So sometimes I'll jump someone in the line because I'm like, we've done a lot of 201. Let's do 320 again real quick. And thank you, 201, for hanging out. Let's talk about, wait, you ready? This is going to help me find the spot in the video to put the cut. So let's talk about the roller coaster problem. We're going to ace this one. Not today, my Pearson. Not today. Let's do this. Here we go. An amusement park ride has opened a new roller coaster. It's so popular that people are waiting up to 3 hours and 2 minutes for a 2-minute ride. Concerned about how so you could ride like 3 times and go home. Mine says every 15%, not specific gender. Yes. Every 15 would be systematic because you're going to take a random starting point and then select every. We do two versions of this. I see. Look, every 10th right there. But then mine's gonna have bias. Mine's gonna have bias. Yours is not gonna have bias because mine's gonna only talk to men. So every 10th male is gonna be sampled as they enter the park. What kind of sample is this? It's definitely systematic because that's every kth observation. What is the sample frame? It's only gonna be the males who enter the park. All males who enter the park. Yeah, because they're talking to them as they enter the park. You have to be very careful to see when they're talking to them. Are they talking to them in the line? Are they talking to them as they enter the park? Be very careful. This changes. So we're going to ace this question. We're not going to get anything wrong with this one. We got this. Is the sample likely to be representative of all the population of interest? Nope. So yeah, I think just there, because we're only talking to men. What members of the population are omitted? Non-male patrons. So what members of the population are omitted? I think that's got it. That was an easy version of it. I was about to get mad if we got it wrong. I was like, what? So we, hopefully, do we have another? Sometimes this one appears twice. I'd like to do it again. Oh, cool. Yeah, it's so similar. We got another similar version of it. I want to do one completely different than the 15th person. This one's not going to talk to every male, though. So we have another systematic sample by every 15th person. What is the sample frame as they enter the park? So it's going to be all patrons of the park. It's not all people who go to amusement parks. All people, nope. Because we're talking to people who come to the park. Is the sample likely to be representative? Yeah. It's likely to be representative of everyone in the park. What members of the population are omitted? No members. We don't care about amusement park employees. We're not talking to them. There we go. So this is much better now. My Pearson, no. We could try it. We could look at another version of it. Did they change this one? Ooh, let's do it. I don't remember this one. It's a question I don't remember. Let's take a look at it. An ultimate Frisbee organization tests players to see whether they're using performance-enhancing drugs. Officials select a team at random. That's the answer right there. In a drug test, crew shows up and announced to all 8 players, small team. I have to send this to Charlie and show him that my Pearson now has an ultimate Frisbee drug testing thing. I wonder, there used to be other things. Maybe they changed it from like football or something. But the answer is that they're selecting a team and sampling all the players. So what is the answer to this? If you know sampling methods well, you can see they selected a team at random, and they're taking data on everyone on the team. So think back to the 2 we were discussing earlier. And it's one of those 2. Who knows what type of sampling this is? Because they selected a team. And the last question might be the harder part. That's going to be the tough question. But I know for 100% exactly, Caitlin. Yep, it's a cluster. And the way that works is you take a whole group, and then you take data on the whole group. You bet we'll do the drink and drive one. Nice job, Kirsten and Caitlin right there. Yep, drinking and driving one next. You bet. And please don't do that. There's things I don't joke about, and drinking and driving is one of those things. Very serious right there. Just call an Uber, call a Lyft. Stupid COVID. So I'm not saying it's like way hard to get an Uber and Lyft now, but I mean, pre-COVID, it's like, come on, what are you doing? Just call an Uber, call a Lyft. Set up plans beforehand. If you don't, call an Uber, call a Lyft. But still call an Uber, call a Lyft. It's much better, like, to go into a car, Uber or Lyft, than to, please be safe. Be nice to your Uber and Lyft driver. I think everyone knows that. I don't have to, if I'm telling you be nice to your Uber and Lyft driver, you're probably not listening to me. Oh man, a lot of people be mean to people. Is this choice appropriate? I think it's this one. No, the team is selected at random, so it is not. See, here's the problem. The team is selected at random. See, I'm between these 2. What do people think, A or D? No, the 8 players test is not a large enough sample to be large enough to be representative of all Ultimate Frisbee players. I don't like that one. Yes, the team is not selected at random. Did they say they selected at random? No, so this is a wrong answer. It says they select. Officials select a team at random. No, the team is selected at random, so it's not. See, this is contradictory. It's got to be this one. Yes, an entire team can be sampled at once, but all players. That's got to be it. Yeah, that's it. I don't love it, and I'll tell you why. This would contradict what randomness is good about. So I do kind of agree with this, that the team. So this is why I debated this one, and I'll tell you why I didn't choose it. It's because randomness is a good thing. So they're saying the team is selected at random, so it's not representative. They're saying since they select the team at random, it's going to be representative. And it's like, well, I mean, you're going to get, I'd rather stratify by team than take a cluster. So I still disagree with them a little bit here. And that's why, but the reason I knew this one was wrong and like why I so quickly clicked off of it is because they're making it sound like randomness is a bad thing. So as soon as I'm seeing that they're kind of like downplaying randomness, like because it was selected at random or like the team was selected at random, so it's not representative. It's like, no, the randomness would have nothing to do with it not being representative. Randomness would only help it be better. So I was like, that has to be wrong. Sometimes small samples are good. So that's just kind of, this is a tough one. These ones that are subjective, these ones that are like just definitional are great. I really like this part of this question. The bottom part, I'm like, not the best, but you get to see the answer right here. So if you're taking it, boom, there's the answer. Top part, really, really great. And unfortunately, I've probably ruined this question. Are there other versions of it? Now they got 12 players. Oh, no. Okay, that's Ultimate Frisbee. I'll send Charlie part of this video. Football team. Yeah, I think I've done this one. Is it always? It's always cluster. We gave away that answer. Let's do the one with the bad topic. Stop showing answers. We only got one thing wrong today. That's excellent. Where's the one we haven't done yet? The PTA board. Ooh, the PTA board one. We should do the PTA board one next. I know people are going to like that one. Wait. Did we not already do this one? Cluster. Do we have... Do people see it? Sometimes they change the questions on here. Do you guys see it? You agree? Which thing do you agree on? Does everyone's... Oh, wait. Okay, here we go. We found it. Sometimes the questions change, like, and they also change what they're about. Okay. To find the public's views. Sorry, I meant the large city school. Yeah, we'll do the large city school next, you bet. That's a fun one. That one's... I don't know if I took the sewage plant one off of here. That one's one of the toughest ones, too. We'll do the PTA board next. We'll do this one right here and PTA board next. So let's do this one. To find the public's view on drinking and driving, researchers waited outside a bar. They had randomly selected from a list of establishments. They stopped every 20th adult who came out of the bar and asked whether or not he or she thought the drinking and driving was a serious problem. The population is probably going to be all adults. This is such a tough one. To find the public's views. Okay. So that's the hint right there. They're trying to find the public's views. Does everyone see this? To find the public's views on drinking and driving, they want to understand all adults. The population parameter is the people who think drinking and driving is a serious problem. That one also seems plausible, but it's not the answer because they're just more interested in the percent that do think it's a serious problem. The sample frame are the people they have access to. So be very careful. This is not the sample frame. That is the sample. Every 20th person is the person they try to sample. Adults, so it would be bar patrons. So I want people to understand why this is bar patrons, because what is the definition of a sample frame? I'll be shocked if it's not bar patrons. What is the definition of a sample frame? It's all the things you could have theoretically gotten your what from. So the sample frame is all people or things we could have done what? What is the sample frame? And so what they did is they selected a random bar. So they selected a random bar. So they could have went to any bar. They selected a random bar, and then they're going to wait outside and talk to people leaving the bar. So they could have been to any bar, theoretically. Like if they went to a list, maybe they're like, we're going to sample any bar from the United States. So does this make sense how this is the sample frame here? Because theoretically, they could talk to anybody. I think the sample frame is the hard one to understand. All things they could have sampled. Yep, they could have sampled any bar patron. Does that make sense, Kirsten? Like the sample frame is bar patrons because they could have talked to any bar patron. So who theoretically could they have talked to? Bar patrons, just people leaving bars. Those are the people they could have theoretically, and you might then say, well, that's not representative of their population, and that's a good thing to note, is that they want to understand the public's views, that's the population, the public's views, because they want to understand that group, and then they're going to sample from bar patrons. The sample is going to be every 20th adult leaving the bar. There's one down here. The sampling method included, oh, it's systematic, because every 20th. What am I doing? That's not tough. Systematic. Better not be something other than systematic. Okay. Any sources of bias right here you can detect. Okay. So let's see. Under coverage bias, possible since they interviewed those who just left a bar. Their opinions about drinking and driving may differ from the population in general. That seems most likely to me. Non-response bias, somebody else leaving the bar may choose not to respond. That's possible, but I don't think that's going to be the big issue. Response bias is possible. The study is conducted in such a way to achieve a desired outcome. I don't think so. 100% Mal Pearson. You're right here. We're going to say it. Not today, Mal Pearson. Not today. Boom. That's how we do it right here. Not today, Mal Pearson. Not today. You got us with one question. I'm going to review that tape. I swear it was one. Only one question today. You get one, Mal Pearson. Everyone gets one. Mal Pearson, you get one. You only get one question today, Mal Pearson. Not today. Not today. Look at all these questions we got right. One wrong. Everything else right. Let's do this right here. So the PTA question is also a tough one. That was question 3. Might be able to do the whole thing today. One wrong. I'll take it. I'll take it. The mail-in question, not so bad. Almost not so bad. The bias question, I think that is. PTA question. Here we go. PTA question. The ones that always say it's unclear always get me. I'm like, don't say something's unclear. Just tell me what the answer is. It's the way the world is, though. A lot of things are unclear. Okay. So this is about a PTA trying to figure out what's going on with their 31 elementary schools. I'm going to need your help with this right here. I'm going to tell you the answer. I'm going to agree or disagree. I promise I've done this one tons of times. This is one, I do like this one, but it's got some tough ones on it. So the way they're going to do their first sampling methods is they're going to ask the parents for their opinions when they visit the PTA booth during parent-teacher conference meetings. Ooh, that's a tough one to go right there. But I think we've eliminated some of these answers, and I think the answer to this one should be pretty obvious. A, B, C, or D. A, B, C, or D. They're not doing the steps for many of these. I do like this question a lot. It is a little bit tricky. A, B, C, or D. They're just going to wait at a booth. Here's how I would explain it. They're just going to wait at a booth and kind of see who walks in. You're like, well, wouldn't it be voluntary then? Yeah. And I would say there's a little bit of voluntary bias involved in this. Voluntary bias is a bias, and it's probably going to deal with convenience sampling. So I think we're good on that one. Oh, what kind of bias? So let's see here. Response bias could result since the PTA obesity. Result since the PTA wants parents to under coverage bias could result only since parents involved in the PTA will be sampled. Bias could result in sampling. Nope. Non-bias could result since not all parents will respond. Oh gosh, this one's not fun right here. I mean, oh wait. Yeah, wait. Well, wait. Parent-teacher conferences, is that only... These are the tough parts. Check out the Kahoot. Check out the Kahoot. Oh, Grace, you're the best. Let's throw some 20 points. All right, I think I still have the link in here. So let me make sure. This one's the tough one. Check out the Kahoot. And let's throw some 20 points. Thank you so much for... Say the very first question we went over, my question was different, and talked about environment. Yeah. Would the answers still be similar to yours? Pretty similar. Tell me if you get like something a little wrong and I'll probably correct it. Like if you make like a 96 on these and you're like, hey, Brian, there was this one thing that I found confusing. Can you try it 4 times? I got a 96. I'll be like, yeah, here's points back. Everyone gets 1. Even Mal Pearson gets 1. Oh, I think it's going to be response bias. Wait. Yeah, parents... yeah, that sounds more like it because it sounds like they're trying to tell us. I think here that this is only during PTA events. This is a PTA event. They're doing something at a PTA event, so they're only going to sample from people who come to PTA events. I think that's what they're trying to tell us. We'll see if we get that one wrong. Randomly select 150 parents and send them a survey, follow up with a home visit. This one I think is obvious. They're basically going to give everyone a number, and then they're going to sample this. So A, B, C, or D. And I'll know the answer to the next one on this one. 100% on this one. This one's an easy one. And then they're going to make sure they get everyone to respond. So they're trying to tell you there's not going to be any bias. A, B, C, or D. So you got to watch out, because I see how this could be confused for a lot of different things. I have an extra option that says under coverage, since the parents survey might not be representative of all parents. Is it the exact one that I was just doing? Correct. Nice job right there. And there's going to be no bias in this one. Bias can only result if it just should say no bias there. That's this answer right here. When you see it, is the no bias answer. That's like there's no bias. So make sure you know that that's your there's no bias answer. It's just like they need to follow this. If you see an extra option to the exact one I'm doing, then it's gonna be a wrong answer. So Lydia, if you have the exact same one I have right here, then that answer would be wrong, but it has to be the exact same question, because there will be a right answer. So if you could tell me which options you have, that's the only one I'm worried about a little bit right now. My Pearson only gets one. My Pearson only gets one, and it's had its one today. Randomly select one grade level. This one's obvious. There shouldn't be much bias with that. If you have a PTA question and they do that properly, it depends on how they're doing it though, Ben. That doesn't sound like there should be bias though. I mean, just with that alone, systematic will not incur bias. Systematic is a good way to sample. This is going to be cluster, exactly right, because they're taking a whole grade and then they're contacting every parent. Yeah. There's going to be under coverage. Oh, and I like that they don't. They're going to undercover other grade levels, which I'm going to be really mad if they say there's no bias in that. They're going to undercover other grades. I don't think it would be good to take a cluster of one grade, because they're going to take one grade, and that's going to be the cluster right here. So they're not, if you do a stratification on grades and you take strata from each grade, you take a percentage from each grade of your sample. Randomly select 10 parents from each. What sampling method is this? Randomly select 10 parents from each school and then send a survey. So like I was just saying, if you were to stratify on grade, you would take percentages from each grade, and they're going to take, and so I think we got another good one here. What sampling method is this, where we take 10 from each strata? Yes, Caitlin. Is it making more sense, Caitlin, how this is, you're going to sample a percentage from each group so that each group is well represented. When you take a cluster, you take a whole bunch at one time. So this is a cluster of one grade level. You just take a whole grade like this. You're like, give me a cluster. And then if you take strata, you take like from percentages from each group. So hopefully it's making more sense, the strata versus the cluster part of it. So this is 100% stratified, and I think this is good right here. I said we could do it. I said my Pearson gets one. You get one, my Pearson. You get one wrong answer. I'm going to check the tape on that. I swear we got one wrong. Just one. Just one today. Just one today, my Pearson. Trying to trick me with those don't know the answer, nondescript sampling method, can't be understood. Toughest one on this one was the one that really made me think was this one right here. What convinced me to go over the edge on this was, I think they're trying to tell us, I wish they just said like, only, like they could clarify this, because we always think about how to make our questions better. If they said, oh, people at this event are only people in the PTA, it'd be like, well, then you're undercovering people. Like, it'd be obvious. I mean, we don't want to, just put it in there, that just let us know. Don't assume things. Don't assume we know that the PTA booth at the parent-teacher conferences. But I mean, you can go to a parent-teacher conference if you're not in the PTA. Do you have to be in the PTA? Can you go over the obesity question? Yeah, let's do it on here. Which one's the obesity question? Is it? So sometimes they change the words on them. That's not the obesity question. I think you mentioned that earlier, Ben. Sorry, I missed it right there. Oh no. Where? I don't see it, Ben. Is it on the homework? Sometimes the homework has slightly different questions. Can you put part of the question in here, Ben? But I don't think it's the better question one. I don't think this one can become it. I don't think that one can become it. That looks to not have a version of it. Oh, here it is. Oh, why didn't I see it? I think we saw it. Okay. Oh, look. So this is one of those questions that changes what it's about. So here, we're a little long time. Let's talk about it. Okay. So here we go, because I think I have to find, we haven't done this one yet. We're going to do the obesity version of it, because I can't, man, it's just like not showing, thought pollution was a serious problem. I'm trying to get the obesity version of it for Ben, and then we can go over that version. Look at that. It's just so crazy. It's like, oh, wait, Ben, we kind of did this one where people, no, I think it's, man, it's impossible to get the obesity version of it. It's just not going to happen today. Here we go. It happened. It's on the quiz fast food restaurant. Is this one right here? Is this one right here? Okay. So researchers want to estimate the percent of people who thought that obesity was a problem. If you highlight the words, you can tell which ones they'll change. They'll change when you do it. But that's going to mean the population of interest is people. Now, identify the parameter of interest. Can you just put into words here? I want you to try, I think we're going to do this one by like going through the words of it, and then we're going to see how our answers match, because my Pearson only gets one. So when you think about the population parameter right here, this is what they want to measure. And they want to measure whether or not people think obesity is a problem. Is that what it is? They're asking, they want to understand from the population what percent think obesity is a serious problem. So this is their parameter of interest. The percent of the population who thinks obesity is a serious problem, proportion of people who think obesity is a serious problem. That's what they're measuring about a population. The next question says, identify the sample frame. So let's think like word-wise, what is a sample frame? Like always define these things when you see it. Like don't look at the answers yet, just think word-wise. When you think about what is a sample frame, the sample frame is all going to be all people or things they have access to. So make sure you have these definitions written down. This is the practice right here. The sample frame is going to be all people or things they have access to. I missed class last week, went to today for the BS response quiz for the 6 p.m. online class. I see the midterm take home, but not the respondus. Yes, it'll be on Friday, Kent. Definitely check out the start of the stream. So go check out the start if you want. I have the announcement up. And so rewind the tape right here, and you'll see me giving the advice for 320 at the start of class. So check that out there, Ken. Thank you for swinging by. But this has all the stuff right here. You can pause this screen. I'll vanish. You can pause this screen or check out the start where I go into all the great details about what's going on this week with all the exam and all the material. And I also give away an answer to the take-home exam. Thank you, Ken, for swinging by. You're welcome anytime. A good question. Just throw those questions in. I do mean that. I want people to ask the questions. So when we think about the sampling frame, same thing. It's all people or things we have access to sample. So what did we have access to sample? Researchers waited outside a randomly selected fast food restaurant. So these are people who go to fast food restaurants. So it's not going to be just this one fast food restaurant, because we could have theoretically gone to any fast food restaurant. So we could have talked to anyone who goes and eats fast food. So the sample frame is going to be people who go to fast food restaurants. Let's take a look. Restaurant customers. Should have said fast food restaurant customers. Identify the sample. It's just going to be the people who talk to us. The sample is going to be the people at the fast food restaurants who talk to us, just the people who responded to the survey question, the people who talked to us. So people leaving. So more specifically, and I do have a problem with this. I don't like that they put people there. These are the views. The views don't matter. It's going to be, they should put something like people who talked to us, the people who gave us information, the people who responded to the survey question. That's going to be our sample. So people leaving the fast food restaurant, I mean, that's also kind of the sample frame if you talk about it that way. I'd say my sample is the people we collected data on who left the fast food restaurant. The sample frame is going to be all people leaving the fast food restaurant, because we could have technically spoken to anybody who left. Identify the sampling method if used. They really weren't specific on this one. If they're just going and talking to people as they leave a restaurant, they randomly selected, so it looks like random non-specified. So I'd say they did say it's random. Oh, that's the way the questions look. Yeah, it's going to say there's going to be an element of randomness, and it's non-specified random. So, okay. Because they're saying did they talk to all? I really wish they made it clear that they talked to all people who left that restaurant. This one might have caught me. This one maybe, I think I may have selected this. This one may have been another not today, my Pearson. They're saying they talk to all people, and I really think this question should say they speak to all people at this restaurant. Does it say that? Because that's what a cluster is going to be if you talk to all people at this location. So you pretty much wait outside the restaurant and you're just like, hey, everyone leaving, we need to talk to you. And you're taking a cluster sample at that location. So they're randomly selecting the fast food restaurant. Yeah, that's where the random selection is. They're going to randomly select their cluster. Yeah, it doesn't say they randomly talked to people. It says they randomly selected a restaurant. I can see where they're going with that. That's a tough one. That's the toughest part of this one so far, I think. But it was cluster immediately. Oh, identify who, if anyone, was left out of the study. They want to understand the population. They're only talking to people who go to fast food restaurants, so they're not talking to people who don't go to fast food restaurants. So they're people who do not eat at fast food restaurants. So that was identifying any potential sources of interest. You're going to undercover that group, so it's probably going to be undercoverage. You're undercovering the people who don't go to fast food restaurants. So yeah, undercoverage right there. Does this make more sense, Ben? And this is how, especially if you look at the answers right here, you should be thinking about these sources of bias and things like this. This is what I hope people can obtain while doing these questions, especially if we're just looking at the answers right here, because I couldn't get a blank version of your question. I just wanted to like do your question that you were asking about. But yeah, if you can kind of think through these things and be like, what would the sample frame be? What would the sample be you're preparing for the test? Because we're going to ask more kind of specific questions. And I think our questions are better worded than these sometimes, because sometimes theirs are a little vague. And I've been doing this quiz for 10 years, and I'm like, okay, wait, is this the one that they're saying is not specific? And then I've even eliminated some that I just thought were like, these are just too weird. Yeah, it's tough. The PTA one's tough. Some of these longer ones are tough where they're like specific but not random, because I wish they would just add in a few more clarifying words. So we might have got caught on one of these. Was there one more that people wanted to do? And I'll head off here, but great work today. Yeah, the PTA one changes a lot. And the PT we can look at the PTA one more time here. So good to see you here, Garrett. Let's look at the PTA one and do another version of it, because it can definitely change. So here we go right here. Let's do another version of the PTA. Randomly select 100 parents, send them a survey, follow up with home visits. That is the simple random sample we did, and that will have no bias. So this one will have no bias unless we do not follow the plan. That's where no bias is. Randomly select 50 parents from each elementary school, send them a survey. That is going to be stratified, and that's a good way of sampling. So that's going to be stratified right there. There's your stratified, and that is a good way of sampling. Bias can only result if we don't follow it. Randomly select one of the grade levels and contact every parent of that grade. This sounds similar to what we did before. That's going to be a cluster, and that's going to undercover other grade levels. There's your cluster sample right there, and that's going to there it is, undercover. I was like, wait, why didn't it undercover not follow up? So undercover right there. Send a survey home with every student and ask parents to fill out and return the next day. So this one's a new one, and so this one we haven't done yet. I had a question about how sure if you. Which one is it, Lindsay? Feel free to ask, Lindsay. Feel free to ask. And oh, did that work, Parker? I didn't know that worked. If you capitalized the whole thing, Mubot's smart. So this one is a different one. I know what it is. Does anyone know what it is? They're attempting to get everybody. It's an attempt at this. So this is an important word you need to know. They're attempting to get data on everyone. That's the important thing I'm trying to point out, which tells us what the answer is. You did what? It worked. It worked. I didn't know it would. So they're trying to get data on everyone. This is the key. They're trying to get data on everyone. They're attempting to use what? Start with, yeah, we did that one. That's the first one we did, Lindsay. So check out, it's the first one. I got one thing wrong. That's the one thing I got wrong today. Unless you count the other one, which I could have theoretically got. Census, you're right. This is an attempt at a census. Boom, an attempt at a census, exactly. And see, there's two ways this could go. One, it's either going to play out right, but two, you could have non-response bias. It's either going to be everything's fine or non-response bias. So let's look at what the answers were. And there we go, non-response bias. So bias could result, not all parents will respond. Yeah. Since I saw non-response bias, I would have gone, you're welcome, Lindsay. Yep. That was a good one. We went through it in pretty good detail. And I made one mistake. No. And we got this one right here. If I saw non-response bias, I was going to click on that because that was the only bias I could see that would occur, that people are not going to respond. Unless they, literally make everyone respond. You're not going to get everyone to respond. Randomly select 20 parents. We've done that one. That stratification works great. List all the names of the students alphabetically and contact every 20th student. This is going to be systematic, and this is a good sampling method. So systematic, and we see no bias here. So systematic sample and no bias. Randomly select 100 parents and send them a survey. Follow up with home visits. So that's going to be simple random sample with no bias. Simple random sample, no bias. PTA booth. This is going to be convenience, and also we will see bias here because what was it again? We're undercovering, right? They are undercovering the people not in the PTA. There we go. We got that again. We're getting some good practice. We know our sampling methods right here. One more time. Send a survey home with every parent. Ask the students to fill it out, return the next day. Attempt a census and undercover or non-response bias. Put a big, this is a different one. Put a big ad in the newspaper asking parents to log into their opinions, and this should be convenience. Convenience, and we're going to get voluntary bias probably. Convenience, is it convenience? Voluntary, so voluntary response sampling, which is convenience, and then voluntary, yeah. And it's sort of like convenience. They're using that word right there. Whoops. We're only set 250 students of all home visits. We did that one earlier. So you're welcome, Lindsay. Great job. Wait, did I skip one? List all the names, select every tenth, systematic, good way of sampling. I think that's got it. We'll probably head off here. I'm going to be teaching here in 30 minutes. Wait. I'm teaching here in 8 minutes. Oh gosh, I'll let everyone go. I thought this is why I had the bigger break. That's it, everybody. Let's head off right here. I hit too many buttons. I'll see everybody later. I'm teaching in 7 minutes. Great work today, everybody. I will talk to you later. Bye for now. Bye. We'll play out the outro.